Are Red Bull's days of dominance numbered in Formula One? Aston Martin's technical director Dan Fallows seems to think so. In a surprising revelation, he claims that Red Bull is beatable, challenging their recent reign over the F1 circuit. So let's dive into this video today to unravel whether Red Bull's stronghold on the track is about to crumble. Last year, Red Bull Racing, based in Milton Keynes, won both the Drivers and Constructors championships. Max Verstappen won the Driver Championship and his teammate Sergio Perez came second. At the beginning of the season, Aston Martin, another team, seemed like Red Bull's main competitor. One of their drivers, Fernando Alonso, got 6 podium finishes in the first 8 races. However, their performance declined later in the season as other teams improved their cars more effectively. Towards the end of the year, Aston Martin showed signs of improvement, raising hopes for a stronger challenge in the future. They believe they can narrow the gap between themselves and Red Bull, especially as the competition across the field becomes tighter. Chief engineer Dan Fallows is confident that Red Bull can be overtaken. Inevitably, when a team like Red Bull performed exceptionally well in 2022, there will be a similarity in how different teams approach problem solving, explained Chief Engineer Dan Fallows, talking to media outlets, including Racing News 365. Due to the current regulations, making visually distinct cars is not very easy. What's more intriguing is the closeness in lap times among teams. It indicates that teams might find it challenging to take a significantly different approach from the common trends seen in most cars. However, this doesn't make the situation any less interesting. The competition and the challenge of staying unique within the given rules make it a compelling aspect of Formula One. Teams may be limited in making radical changes, but the race remains captivating. He further said, "We're focused on squeezing out more lap times by refining smaller details. We've already made improvements to elements like the floor and other parts of the car, but there's still more time to gain. We firmly believe that Red Bull can be defeated. That's our goal and what we're working towards. Our attention is on them and we're determined to surpass them. Red Bull is the benchmark." Last season, Red Bull nearly swept all races, except for one where Carlos Sainz won for Ferrari in Singapore. Additionally, McLaren's Oscar Piastri was the only other driver besides Verstappen and Perez to win a sprint race. When asked if defeating Red Bull was the main focus for individual races or the entire season, Fallows responded, "Red Bull sets the standard for performance, but for us, it's about chasing whoever has the fastest car. Instead of focusing on specific races, our engineering goal is to create a car that can perform well at any track and remain competitive." He continued, "Our primary focus is building a reliable and driver-friendly car. Once we achieve that, we can work on closing the gap with Red Bull. By enhancing our car's performance, we position ourselves to compete at their level, which is our ultimate objective." Mike Krack's words. Also, Aston Martin F1 team principal Mike Krack certainly deserves credit for aiming high for the 2024 Formula One season. However, his bold statement might have stirred up trouble, as provoking the strong Red Bull team doesn't usually lead to positive outcomes. Krack's confident declaration, "We take the approach that Red Bull is beatable, that's what we're chasing after, we're focusing on them, and that's what we're aiming for," raised eyebrows and even earned a chuckle from Aston Martin driver Fernando Alonso. On Sunday, ahead of the Aston Martin AMR24 launch for the 2024 Formula One season, Mike Krack and team technical director Dan Fallows and Aston Martin drivers Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll spoke to racing media via Zoom. Krack made it clear that he isn't satisfied with Aston Martin being just a mid-pack team in 2024. This statement comes from an organization that ended up 5th in the F1 Constructors standings in 2023, far behind Red Bull, who scored 860 points compared to Aston Martin's 280. Furthermore, Aston Martin hasn't won a race during its current 3-year stint in Formula One. However, Alonso had a commendable season in 2023, securing 8 podium finishes and ending up 4th in the F1 Drivers' Championship. This marked his highest number of podium finishes since the 2013 season. What has Alonso said? As Aston Martin unveiled its new AMR24 car on Monday morning, there's a belief that the narrowing competition in the F1 grid creates a prime chance for a team to dethrone the reigning champion Red Bull. According to Dan Fallows, the technical director at Aston Martin, while success now hinges on intricate details, he believes there's still untapped potential for someone to surpass Red Bull. Fallows noted, "People are getting very close, and I think that suggests people are probably less able to take a big conceptual step away from the kind of things that we're seeing on the majority of cars. We're currently focusing on squeezing out more lap times by refining smaller details like intricate elements of the floor and other parts of the car. However, there's still significant room for improvement in terms of lap times. We firmly believe that Red Bull can be beaten. That's our goal, and we're directing all our efforts towards achieving that. It's our main target." While Dan Fallows' remarks about Red Bull are more about our mindset rather than suggesting we have a car capable of beating them right now, he emphasizes that our team needs to prioritize consistency and implement an aggressive development plan this year. These are crucial factors for our success. Moreover, Dan Fallows further elaborates on Aston Martin's approach to competition and car development. "We frequently discuss Red Bull because they are undoubtedly the standard for performance in Formula One. However, our primary focus is on whoever currently possesses the fastest car. Instead of fixating on individual races, our engineering perspective necessitates creating a car that can excel on any track and remain competitive." Fallows also said, "Therefore, our primary objective is to design a car that is usable and benefits the drivers. We prioritize making our car adaptable and effective across various racing conditions. This holistic approach ensures we remain competitive throughout the season rather than solely targeting specific races. Ultimately, we aim to provide our drivers with a reliable and high-performing vehicle that enables them to consistently challenge for victories." He even sheds light on Aston Martin's strategic approach, emphasizing the team's current focus on refining their car's performance. He states, "Our concentration has been on enhancing the competitive aspects of our car. Competitive statistics and our proximity to Red Bull will naturally follow this process. By optimizing the performance of our car, we equip ourselves to compete at the highest level, precisely our goal." In contrast to Fallows' ambitious targets, Fernando Alonso adopts a more cautious outlook on the upcoming 2024 season. When asked about sharing Fallows' optimism, Alonso responds with a touch of humor, saying, "It's good that he's saying that. It brings a smile to my face. Although I haven't spoken to Dan in a few weeks, optimism is essential at this stage of the season. We witnessed a strong finish from Ferrari last year, securing pole positions in the latter part of the season, indicating the potential for shifts in performance dynamics." So, he cautiously observes, "McLaren also made significant strides during the season and occasionally threatened Red Bull's dominance. Let's see how things unfold." Alonso emphasizes the importance of consistency, stating, "Our initial goal should be consistent points finishes, followed by contending for podiums as we demonstrated last year." He then expresses a heartfelt desire for Aston Martin's maiden victory. "Ideally, we aim to secure Aston Martin's first victory, hopefully with me behind the wheel. It would be a truly memorable moment for the team." But he stresses the need for a gradual approach, considering the intense competition expected in the upcoming season. He says, "We must proceed cautiously, taking one step at a time. The competition is expected to be extremely close this year, with 4 or 5 teams separated by just 2 or 3 tenths of a second." Also, he talks about the significance of this narrow performance margin, stating, "With such tight competition, even a difference of 2 tenths of a second could determine whether we're fighting for podium positions or struggling to break into the top 10. Therefore, our focus needs to be razor-sharp on optimizing our performance within this tight window." Lance Stroll emphasizes Aston Martin's strategy of self-improvement rather than fixating on beating Red Bull. He states, "Our primary aim isn't solely about outperforming Red Bull. While that's a long-term goal, our immediate focus is on maximizing our potential." Stroll elaborates on the team's approach. Our main objective is to become the best version of ourselves. We have numerous ideas and plans in progress aimed at strengthening our team. Our attention is firmly directed towards enhancing our performance and capabilities. So, what do you think of the bombshell dropped by Alonso for Red Bull F1 2024? Comment below and subscribe for more.